Hello, my name is Jose, and this week I will be doing question number two, or the second question, which talks about the American dilemma. The questions I will be answering are: what did you learn about the American dilemma? And two, do you agree or disagree with Professor Gordon Reed and why? So, for me, the American dilemma, based on the video, was this contention that is faced between the United States and it's one of the points that I've been talking about and that I've been seeing as well, and something that has been really sort of culminating, especially last year, was this division that is felt in the United States. It's a deep divide between ideals and between what the professor calls blood and soil. And what that means is different types of political parties or different leaders using the sort of uh, the claims of blood. So since let's say we're all right from like the same religion, or we're all some sort of like nativity born from somewhere, right? So we all have this imbued claim to be united in some way. But that is opposed when we're seeing the United States that is based on values. And that's what the professor is trying to get at, is that the division in America is greatly caused by this blood and soil claim. But there's a lot of merit that has to come also from America being a country of values, and how these two sort of start colliding. And one of the ways that she really manifests that, and something that is also on our homepage, is Thomas Jefferson, which is one of the most interesting, prolific figures of the founding generation. And quite honestly, as it's been said so many times, he is the American dilemma, and he is the framework that we can sort of work out these issues, good and bad, whether it be on slavery or economics or politics and policies, right? There's a lot that can be taken away from that. But something that really struck a chord with me, or I guess not struck a chord with me, but something that was really outstanding, was what Jefferson was saying, and this question about the Charlottesville protests, and what Jefferson was saying, and how that was taken as a sort of belief rather than some sort of defeatist commentary on the way that American politics can resolve its race issue. Which his his viewpoint, Thomas Jefferson's viewpoint, was that whites and blacks could not live together, that the blacks had to be emancipated because they had to get their own nation, because they could never forgive a nation who had treated them so poorly, as opposed to the whites who could never get rid of their prejudices. And I think this is something that the professor really does well in describing, right? How there is this American d- dilemma that is happening, and it is causing divisions, and we see it. We see it in especially with the way that the news is sort of formulated. We definitely do see a rise in broadcastings of division, and how heavily opinionated people are driven to such causes and to perform such acts. But when we're talking about the American dilemma and how complex it is and how defeatist it might all sound, the professor argues that there is something that can be done, which to her is just simply talking, which I agree with, uh, because although they tend, although they're very difficult problems, and this is sort of a generational thing, something that happened too between Hamlet and Madison and Jefferson, right? About how or Hamilton, sorry, not Hamlet, mixing the H's. But how they sort of had to contend with each other on what kind of nation this would be, right? So there's a lot of talking that the Professor Gordon Reed tries to emphasize into this situation. And I do think the American dilemma is its deep divide in opinion and the neglect to embrace that America is a nation based on values rather than something based on blood and soil. But that's something that we sort of have to adjust to eventually.